Thank you to Blackology Coffee Company for sponsoring this video. Take 10% off your next order at Blackology Coffee Company by using the link in the description, www.blackologycoffeecompany.com/Angela.
I had a life kind of going, and then it all kind of came crashing down. So I'm like 3 years out of that. So I'm finally kind of, I've been working through that. So, but I've been and then I started a coaching business and an online course, kind of with the same theme in mind, which is kind of helping people through these types of transition phases in life, and kind of to help people find a sense of kind of meaning and purpose in life. And that's what I'm interested in. It's what I've been kind of doing in my own life. And I like talking about it. I like talking to people about kind of the deeper kind of topics. Not like it has to be like that all the time, but I do enjoy that type of kind of work. It's sort of spiritual in a sense, or religious in a sense, but it's kind of I feel like when you ask like what your purpose is on this earth, it gets kind of deep pretty quick. So, but that's kind of what I'm interested in.
Okay. So in your course I saw, which is like kind of targeted for people who are like maybe seniors or just getting out of college, and they're kind of trying to figure out, okay, how can I build a life that I love, essentially, that I'm inspired to wake up to and do every day and engage in, and just really start people off at a good path. And I think that's such like a great place to start. I feel like it's something I wish I also would have had coming out of college, because you do so much unknowing soul searching during that time, where you're kind of breaking free of, okay, what did I learn growing up? What were my expectations growing up? And now what do I really want just as a person? You know what I mean? And sometimes those two things don't always line up. And so we waste a lot of time trying to fit into a mold that may not necessarily be for us. So can you tell me a little bit about why you felt like led to create this course, and some of the conversations you've been able to have as a result of this course?
Yeah. So I think you're right on there. I think it's common. It's not like I think it's the rare person that sort of has a real strong path after college. I mean, some people do, and some people shoot up in the ranks, but a lot of people are kind of trying to figure it out. So I think it's natural. I don't think it's necessarily all college's fault, but on the other hand, I think they could do a better job. And so yeah, I think that's the idea, is kind of to get a sense of who you are. And I think you don't always do that in college. I mean, some people are ready, some people aren't. I don't know, 20 is a pretty young age, and everyone has a different kind of path. And so some people wake up when they're 42 and they're like, oh no, I'm not living my life at all, and other people have it earlier or later or whatever. So it's not so much the age, but yeah, that's what it's called. It's Your Path After College. And the idea is to get a sense of who you are and kind of what you actually want, not just this idea of in your head of what you grew up with or what you should be doing. And so I think that there's ways to do that. And so I've kind of tried to put everything I can into this 5-week course, which is, it's not going to solve all your problems, but I think in 5 weeks, but I think it touches on a lot of different themes, and it kind of gets you thinking and gets kind of your brain cranking on kind of who you are, what you actually want.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, it doesn't matter the age, like this kind of epiphany or this kind of deep searching and deep learning can happen at any time. And for you, like, you were in real estate, you were married at one point, and life was kind of flowing. And then all of a sudden, like, it wasn't. Like, you kind of had this time in your life where you realize, yeah, real estate, this isn't really it for me. I need to take a step back and really figure out like what I want to be doing with my life and what I'm passionate about and what my purpose is outside of just going to a job and making money. So can you talk me through a little bit of how you started that process? Because that's not easy to really take a step back from a career like that.
No, it's not easy, and it's not always something that you like want or that you choose necessarily. Sometimes life just kind of happens, and if it's obviously there's choices to make, and but there's also kind of it can be more powerful forces than that to also at work, in my opinion, and what I felt in my experience. But so no, it's not an easy thing. It takes a lot of. But for someone like myself, I feel like I was holding a lot of stuff down, and I was like fairly unconscious, kind of. Not in every way, and it's not like I was having a bad life necessarily, but I think I repressed a lot of stuff, and so when that comes up, you have to deal with it. I think at some point you have to deal with this stuff. You can't. I think that's how life works. You really can't hold it off forever, and so sometimes you can hold it off for a while with like willpower, or just like trying to ignore what's going on, but it doesn't work forever. It's not a good kind of long-term strategy. So for me, it was a big wake-up call, and then a lot of different things had to be addressed in my own life. But I think it's a common thing for a lot of people. It's not necessarily a divorce or a career change. It could be any number of things, but I think there is a time when sort of, and I think this last year has been a time like that for a lot of people, where you're kind of forced to stop and slow down and be like, you can't just, you're not busy all the time. So you have to, you're kind of being asked to stop and look at your life and the direction of your life. So I think those periods are, they're pretty rare in life. They don't happen every year, and it's not something you necessarily choose. So when they come, a lot of times our natural reaction is to be like, to stop, push that away, and try to kind of create more order, like go back to the order of our old life, or the comfort of some kind of our old patterns. And so I think that's a natural reaction, but at the same time, it's there's opportunity in those times to make a change, or to kind of reconnect with who you are, that isn't available when kind of life is just swimming along. So it takes a lot of work to try to get into that, and to, it's it can be a painful experience, and when you have to deal with a lot of change in life. But I like working with people in those periods, because I think there's rare opportunity there, and it's kind of a fertile ground for like new beginnings, and getting more in touch with who you are, which I think is important. So yeah, that's why I think those times are good. I think when you're, I think a lot of people maybe are in that position now, but
Yeah.
it can be looked at from different perspectives.
I know. This is getting really good. But I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you. Thank you so much for watching and listening to the show. Whether you're a day one fan or day 100 fan, I'm so glad that you found Honey and Hustle and have decided to stick along for the ride. As a thank you, I wanted to give you a little gift that this show has so graciously given me: the ability to continue to connect with thought leaders, industry leaders, business owners, and other entrepreneurs no matter where I am. Link offers a digital business card that is a natural extension of my website and social media platforms that allows me to easily send people to strategic landing pages so they can learn a little bit more about me, the resources I offer, and how we can continue to stay connected. When you click the link below in the description, you'll get 15% off any of their wearables, phone taps, and hopefully the last physical business card you'll ever need. When you do this, I get a little percentage back at no extra cost to you, which helps me continue to host guests and industry leaders so they can give you advice and help you crush the hustle. Thank you so much again for supporting the show and our show sponsor, Link. All right, let's get back into it. Through your coaching, one thing that you address with people is this period that you're talking about of reconstruction and kind of building from scratch. And from scratch can mean different things for different people. It could be a major life event like a pandemic or a loss of a loved one, like you said, or it could just be like maybe they did have a job throughout this pandemic and they realized even working remotely, they really don't like this job and there's other things that they would like to dedicate their time to doing or have more freedom to do, like spend time with their family and things like that. And that's like a very big place of uncertainty, or can be a very big place of uncertainty if you let it. But like you said, there's a lot of potential in those kind of moments in life where you're kind of at a crossroads of, do I go back to what I feel comfortable doing? Or do I put myself in a place of discomfort and go after what really could make me happy and be at the core of who I am as a person, right? And so you talk about on your website a lot about answering the question of, if I build it, will people come to it, right? Because that's a lot of people's fear with starting a business or starting a new venture or starting a new chapter in a life. And as you're figuring out who you are and you're growing and changing and developing, defining yourself as your niche, which is something I've never thought about before. So can you kind of expound on your perspective on those two things?
Yeah. I think that's courage is a big part of it. And I don't want to make it like I'm just telling everybody to go blow up your life, and change. So I don't want everybody to follow my path. I think everybody has their own, and it doesn't always have to be massive change in your life. I'm not, I would never tell I'm not like an advocate for divorce, but in my case, it was the right thing. And so, I think whenever you're making a big move in life, or when you're going through a period of kind of awakening, it's uncomfortable, it's new. And so, you have a vision, you sort of have an idea, and you're kind of a desire for something new, but you don't know what that is, and you don't know how exactly that is going to play out. And so there's a lot of unknown. And so I think trust is a big part, and it's not about being naive and just saying anything will work, but I do think that you have to have some trust in yourself and in life in general to go forward and just to try something, because otherwise you get stuck, I think. And so that's a big piece of it. And I think, how do you teach that is, I think that religion and spirituality plays a part in that. Like, people are always looking for something greater, like a greater plan, or something that, has some grand scheme or greater idea of, how life is playing out, that we're not, in charge of, but that you trust. And so I think that's a big piece of it. I think you have to have faith in who you are, and you have to trust kind of where life is taking you. And there's not one way to do it. It's not like there's one answer. I think there's a lot of different ways to do it. And a lot of times we'll say we'll put it into one decision where it's like, I either do this or this. And it's sometimes you do have to make a choice, but a lot of times we do that as a defense against kind of feeling the full impact of the decision, or kind of just a defense against making a kind of taking any action. So I think you have to have faith that it'll work, that there is a better possibility down the line, and so that a lot of that is inner kind of. It doesn't come from somebody else. It comes from inside you.
Mhm. So for people who may be watching this, and I feel like there's people at all stages of, the entrepreneurial journey who can benefit from just continually looking inward, and evaluating themselves, their business processes, their business journey, all of those type of things. And I think people have definitely done that within this past year. We've seen new businesses and old businesses come and go, like never before, which is both exciting and heartbreaking, and you just never know what is going to be of your local economy after this, truly. But for people who maybe felt pretty confident before this pandemic, and are now faced with the decision of having to not necessarily pivot, but just reevaluate how their business or how their company or organization played into their purpose in life. And they may be questioning that because we tie that so much to a dollar amount, right? And at the end of the day, you still have to eat, you still have to live, you still have to, you know, have a life for yourself. What is some advice that you would give to them, or how would you speak to them about leaning in to this time of soul searching right now?
Yeah. I think, so the idea of like finding your purpose or having having a calling is, to me, a good one. It can be inflated though. And so at times you can think, oh, and then you in search of it forever. You're like, I haven't found my calling. And you're looking for a confirmation from somewhere that this is the right path for you. So that can become a problem. But if you literalize it too much as like, my calling is this job, or this relationship or something. If it's literally that, I think it can be a problem. But I think the general idea is to take your life seriously, and that doesn't mean not have fun at all. But it means like, you're here on earth for a reason, or not one reason, but multiple reasons. And it's not all random. And so a lot of that, then if you start to think that way, and you really, and I don't think a lot of people do, but if you start to think about that, then you just, it leads you back to your past, I think. And so you look back and you say, and then you try to give some meaning to different life events that have happened. And you look back and you can find out, kind of help discover who you are by looking back and creating this kind of story for yourself. And that, I think, can help with the career choices. You can reconnect kind of to your past, whether that's your actual past or like your family lineage or something like that. I think can help. But there's certain, we all have different memories that or different life events that have happened that are meaningful or that are impactful. And so I think really a big part of it is, which is like therapy in a way, but going back and working through those times and kind of not coming up with one meaning that makes, but work continually going through it and coming up with something that makes sense. I think a lot of people that have success, like quote unquote success, or like business success, or living a happy life, have gone back and then made some sense of their story, kind of. And so that can take a long time. That's not a quick process. And it can be, it's not a process that's always pleasurable either, but I think it's important part of it. So if you have to, so I think at times of change, or if you need a pivot, like you said, if you need to pivot your business, looking back can help, because you can kind of say, oh, now I realize how I different fateful things happened and I ended up in this position, um, what, what's being asked of me now, or could this possibly be looked at in a good light? Like maybe there wasn't something that was perfectly right about what I was doing. And so I think a lot of it is that, and then looking back with more imagination and just using more imagination in general, and not to not see bad things, but just to expand your mind. I think is a big piece of it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with me. I hope it helps somebody. I'm pretty sure it did. I feel like it helped somebody, but I'm gonna claim that. Thank you so much for joining me all the way from Austin, Texas today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me. It's nice to be here.